ขึ้นหน้าตัวเองโอเค
Sawadee Good afternoon, everyone. I myself am very honored today to be moderating the session, the Cofact live talk session today on facts and future of crisis in Sri Lanka and what can Thailand can learn from Sri Lanka. Let me first introduce to you #Generation, a youth-led organization in Sri Lanka with one of the main missions, if not many, including the fact-checking and countering misinformation and online hate speech. And I would like to introduce to you whom we have here today, Mr. Harshana Silva, who is #Generation social media analyst and also fact-checker, whom has previously been the full-time journalist. He will be with us today to share with us what exactly is going on in Sri Lanka and what are the observations from the online perspective and what can we learn. He will share some light to us today. I will hand over the floor to you, Harshana.
Thank you, Chutikarn and the Cofact for inviting #Generation and me for the presentation and for the event. And so we'll go through kind of a timeline, what happened in Sri Lanka over the last couple of months, and what happened, and then the repercussions of the public protest. And so then we'll move into the session where that we can discuss what Thailand can learn, and then to the question and answers. So let me begin with the recent crisis. The presentation is there. Okay. So in 2019, I think all of you know about the Easter Sunday attacks that happened in Sri Lanka in April 21st, that led to the death of 260 people and injuring more than 500 people. So the same year we had a presidential election, and then the next year we had a parliamentary election, and then in the same year that we had to face COVID epidemic as rest of the world. So we'll go to the next slide. And during the COVID, there were protests going on. Farmers protested, and different sectors came into protest. And there was a government policy of mandatory barrier, which affected the Muslims in the country and other minority as well. And also there comes import bans from the country because Sri Lanka was kind of, the reserves were declining from time to time because of the COVID situation. We lost income from tourism. We lost income from the remittances, which people who were abroad, which percentage, and also there were other declining in the export sector as well. And the same year in 2021, there was kind of a massive disaster in the ocean where that affected marine life and the environment, which is express pearl disaster, one of the major disasters which is said in the human history, which happened in the oceans. And that same year we had a import ban on fertilizer that led to the massive protests from farmers. And there were price hikes in as well in the rice, and there were in the same year there were protests regarding the teachers union and the medical professions and the trade unions because of the lack of facilities that were given, and they were asking for salary hikes, and for different reasons people were protesting. And that started with the COVID situation, that country was almost locked down for 2 years. And later on last year there was a issue with the domestic gas cylinders, which led to the few deaths, and also the distribution of gas suspended, and we were not able to, even there was another reason that we were not able to buy gas because of the declining of the reserves, and we didn't have any dollars. And the same year we had a incident in Pakistan where a Sri Lankan was died because of the violent incident, and also that led to massive discussions in the online space. And then that trend of protesting, that which led in this different sectors in the country, that led to the massive protest by youth groups and people because of the power cuts and the price hikes, etc. So the momentum of protests that happened last year and the year before that, that came into this year as well, where the government has to announce power cuts because of the that we didn't have enough dollars to buy fuel, and also other factors. So from January, from the last year onwards, there were power cuts in several hours, and that led to a massive or a long scale power cut that started in 30th May, which was announced as a 13-hour power cut. That led to a massive protest in front of the former president's private residence in suburb of Colombo. So later on that day, curfew was imposed, and that curfew was extended to the other parts of the country in later on days as well, and that led to a public emergency as well. So people were asking the president to resign because economy was collapsing. So Sri Lanka has gone to IMF for 16 times. Now we are going to the IMF for 17 times. So economic crisis, nothing new, that we were facing economic crisis over a couple of decades because of mismanagement, corruption, and also bad economic policies. And also the economic policies were taken on only considering about the political gains. So that led to the dollar crisis, that led, and the excessive money printing that happened in the country as well. So these were major reasons for the economic crisis, and that led to a political crisis and an economic constitutional crisis. So that people were demanding the president to resign, the cabinet to resign, because the government was unable to respond to all the address the grievances of the public. So later on in the beginning of the April, the cabinet was resigned, the central bank governor was resigned, and there was a new central bank governor, and he promised that we will build up the country, but people have to go through a difficult time. And so the second week of April, the 9th of April, massive amount of public gathered in Colombo, especially in Gotagogama. So people thought that will be a one-day movement or a two-day movement, but people stayed there for more than 100 days. That led to a massive protest started the continuation of protest, and that led to the protest all over the country. And on May 19th, there was an incident where peaceful protesters were attacked by supporters of the former Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa, is the brother of former President Gotabaya Rajapaksa. So that protest was come with unexpected repercussions for the political parties and the political figures, and also the government didn't expect that public will reacted angrily to the what they did in Golf Fest. So these supporters of former Prime Minister Rajapaksa attacked the youth-led movements in Golf Fest, which was famously known as Gotagogama. So, and then when they were returning back to their home or the places, those people or the supporters were attacked by the general public. So there was kind of the anger of the public was expressed, and so there was massive violence that happened within short time period, and still the investigations are going on, and people are demanding justice for the victims that people who faced violence that day. So there is still a debate on this incident, specifically on this incident. And then again, there was cabinet reshuffles, new faces coming, not the new faces, but people who were in the government, change in the seats, change in the ministries, ministerial portfolios. And then later on, 9th June, former finance minister, he resigned from his parliamentary seat. He was one of the major culprit of the economic crisis. So there was a lot of anger towards him as well, and there was a lot of demand for him to resign from the finance minister. He was resigning the first week of April, and then the governor, as I said, and then the anger was mounting because the inflation was going up. People can't buy fuel. There was no, even have money, they can't buy fuel, and the food prices was going up. There was no power, and there's no fuel to provide proper electricity. So there was online campaign and also offline, asking people to come to the office to chase away or the remove the president from his seat. So on July 19, there was a massive amount of, I think, so roughly they have calculated that 1 million people have arrived there, but there are no specific numbers how much have came there. So on that day, the public was able to capture, occupy the president's secretariat, the president's official residence, and then the temporary prime minister's official residence, and then there was a violence incident at the same day where some gathering has burned down prime minister, now the president Mr. Wickremesinghe's house. So that day the president fled to certain places, but there were no specific details about that. Later on 13th July, he announced that on 19th he said that I'm going to resign on 13th, but there was kind of speculations about that, where he is and what is he going to do. So it was reported that he was out of the country for a few hours and then came back to a harbor in Trincomalee, or a safe house. And later on 13th July, people again occupy Prime Minister's official office in Colombo. So on 13th July, Mr. Gotabaya Rajapaksa fled to Maldives, and then he went to Singapore and then to Thailand. So he has returned to the country again. So on 14th July, there was a resignation letter which was sent to the Speaker of the Parliament, and the official resignation was delivered. And until then, so the Mr. Wickremesinghe was acting president, and later on there was a parliamentary election, that is the constitutional procedure. So according to the constitutional procedure, Mr. Wickremesinghe was elected as the president on 21st July, and there was again attack on 22nd on peaceful protesters in the dawn, in the early hours. So still there are investigations going on. People are demanding, and however, the same faces who were the culprits, who were accused of ruining the economy and the politics and the country, are still in the power. So that's what are the arguments made by the people who are protesting. And so Mr. Wickremesinghe took oath as the president. He is the 8th executive president of the country. And then, which I said, there was an attack on protesters. So from during this time, these were the timeline that happened throughout the last couple of months. These protests are nothing new to the country, but this protest movement is a big movement which was very peaceful, and that led to a kind of change, some amount of, we can't say it's kind of a big change, but it's kind of some amount of a change that happened in the country that led to people's aware.
Just before we're moving on to the next section, I have maybe two questions. I understand that prior to this economic crisis that leading to the ousting of the president of Sri Lanka, Sri Lanka itself has gone through a history of post-independence phase, post-ethno-religious conflict. And given that history, though, do you see any linkages between the current one and the historical ones so far?
We can link to some incidents and some points, but we can't say this is very much similar to the post-conflict issues or ethno-violence issues. But there are links, there are positives and also the negatives. And also, as a country, we had cycles of violence, and there wasn't justice. The justice wasn't delivered to the people who have suffered. So still people are demanding justice for things that happened in 30, 40 years back.
And you also have walked us through the timeline of the current situation on the real world. So what's happening online that's happening in parallel? Did you see anything, any like recognized signals?
So online was the social media was one of the biggest thing that mobilized the people, and that led to the make aware the public of what's going on, because we going to discuss later on as well, where the most of the media in Sri Lanka are polarized or biased towards certain political ideology, we can say political parties or the public figures. So social media is kind of, we can say, double-edged sword, which act as a positive thing and also as a negative platform. But when we look at the current scenario and the current context, social media has done a lot of things in positively, which also mobilize people, that led to the awareness of the public about what's going on. And also people were also fact checking themselves as well. We have seen and we have noticed certain things, certain incidents where people come up and fact check themselves, and they said this is misleading or this is fake news.
Okay, so just maybe moving on to the fact checking process at your how are you doing it at your organization?
So we have few people who are doing fact checks with us, full-time members. So it depends on the day and depends on the claim that we had fact check. So it's a kind of a time-taking, hard process, and also it is very much important at the current context of the country, because there are a lot of information coming out. We can simply say that we are facing an infodemic because of the economic crisis and also ongoing situation in the country. So there's a lot of information coming through social media, and we can't fact check each and everything. But we are doing our very best to debunk fake news.
Yep, I think you can go ahead with the next
Okay,
section. Yeah.
thank you. So I have selected a couple of fact checking that we have done through the last couple of months. So when we look at the disinformation or the false narrative that we have observed in social media, so there's a lot of during the couple of months there are a lot of claims or the Facebook post or post that were trying to mislead the public about the ongoing protest, and also discredit the public, discredit the leading figures and also the protesters. And also we have noticed that state sponsored disinformation that was going through social media, and also mainstream media, or what we call legend media, that also influenced social media to circulate this information that originally started from mainstream media. And also we could notice that there were instances where several politicians were targeted, several individuals were targeted, and also targeting each and everyone despite their political ideology or the political biases. So these three are kind of trying to discredit the government, which started from nowhere, that the IMF chief, which met the president, has resigned, and there's another one saying that India is going to take over Sri Lanka because of the economic crisis. So they are willing to take over the Sri Lanka, because that was a result of where the Dr. Jai Shankar said that we are willing to help Sri Lanka. So there were instances where which targeted several international figures because they have said something about Sri Lanka. And there was issues about the price hikes which circulated especially through WhatsApp, that the fuel prices will go up from today. So it's very hard to fact check those kind of stuff, because things can change within a minute or within a few seconds. And also there were discussions about the resigning of the president, constitutionally it is possible or not. And because people are not aware of the laws, some figures try to mislead people on the constitutional rights, constitutional affairs, or the parliamentary proceedings. Can you make it big? Okay, thank you. So there was instance where that the government, there was an instance where the government or the president media fake statement issued by saying that the statement issued by the president media saying that if people support the protest, the salary they won't get the salary. So there was a instant where that to discredit the president, then president and the government. And also there were things saying that because people are not aware about their constitutionally given rights, so they were posts misleading the public, which sometimes that to discredit the government, sometimes to discredit the opposition or the protest movements. And so there were instances which public figures or the politicians were targeted. So there's one example where there was a fake photograph saying attributing to NDTV or saying that the former prime minister has funded the Hindu to create a fake news about LTT, because there was a news at the time that there was kind of a resurgence of LTT or there will be an attack on somewhere. That was published, that there was an original news about it. And also there were instances where people who were supportive of the protest or people who were backing the protest were targeted, or people within their capacity who were supporting or who were backing the protest were targeted. So there was an instance where people were arrested for enjoying or exercising their constitutional rights, and many lawyers came forward and supported the protesters to express their political and the constitutional rights. So when those happened, those people, or especially the lawyers and several other professionals, were of the targeted of this information, and there was kind of targeting to discredit those people. And also there were a lot of disinformation regarding World Bank and also the IMF, where saying that the IMF won't support this government, IMF won't give money. And also there were instances where the people who are in the power, who are in the government, saying we didn't get money because of the IMF. So there are the both ways we are trying to discredit each other. So there was a letter that was shared on 13th and 12th July, a fake letter that the president has resigned. It was before the original letter was sent to the speaker. And there was another massive disinformation saying that Sri Lanka couldn't go to the IMF because of the protest. So that was made by a member of parliament who then joined the government. So disinformation was from each side, trying to discredit each other, and also to discredit public figures and the personnel. So these are which I have gone through as well, where there's a lot of misleading content still on social media about the economic situation, because people are not aware about the actual data, and also they don't know where to find them, and also those sometimes economic data are misinterpreted by the public figures, especially the politicians. And before these protests, there was a lot of disinformation about the COVID and also COVID vaccination, and also different stuff that going through the political context. But from this year onwards, there was a massive trend or a massive change this to the political context and also to the economic situation in the country, that led to the speculations and misleading content. So we can.
Okay, just before you moving to next slide, so I'm just like trying to draw your experience to Thailand, right? Just quickly. We haven't yet seen a fact-checking organization that has done so much work on political related contents. What kind of caution, what kind of sensitivity that so-called organization supposed to be mindful about, or any person or public that would like to conduct their own fact-checking process, just to be careful about the that the impact on the misinformation towards themselves. Like, what kind of advice would you give on this?
To a public or to the citizen or to an organization?
Both, to a fact-checking organization as well, and to the a wider public, to have what do you call self-capacity building, to raise the awareness and how do they do it on themselves. Yeah.
So the first of all, politicians say different things at different times and different situations. So it is very difficult to go through each and everything that they say. And also, if one says something false and we fact check, and if the other political party or whatever the opposition of the one, so they will come up and say that they are biased towards the other political party. So it is very difficult because they don't say they don't make similar statements or similar stuff at the same time. So it is very sensitive manner, and we have to be careful about that. And also that is why it is very important for fact checkers and the fact check organization to be non-partisan, and also to go through a methodology that is fair, and also giving the opportunity for each and everyone, getting the comments from each and everyone, and also having a proper mechanism of doing or debunking the fake news. And for the public, so practically people don't have time to do their own fact checks or like we do, but what they can do is they can check the available data. They can check from different sources. If one media outlet saying something, they can go to the other media outlet and say what they have reported. And when it comes to the when we come out to the economic data, it's very complicated and very hard for public to go through each and every data. But there are organizations, and some of the public data are available in online platforms. And about constitutional rights, you can easily go to the, for example, from Sri Lankan context, you can easily go to the parliament website there, where that you can have all the details about their rights and the constitution and each and every day. But it is very hard for people to go through each and everything, and also to interpret or to understand those stuff. So what public or what general public can do is to refer to more sources and more places, and make question the media. And also they can refer to different personalities who have commented on the such claims, such such things. As organizations, we have to go through each and everything, and also it is very important to guide people to the where data is available and simplify what is there. So most of the economic and the constitutional and the political context are in technical terms. So it is very important to simplify those and guide people to the necessary places, and to guide people to always check and verify their news. I can't hear you. Oh, sorry. I think you are on mute.
I'm sorry. I was saying that is like general feeling that the misinformation ecosystem has worsened day by day, right? And the public trust towards, for example, the mainstream media or online media is also declining. And the misinformation has become the cheapest tool, the cheapest political tools, right? To generate divide or confusion or manipulate the public perception. So would you like to emphasize on why it is very much important to do so of the fact-checking process? Why the media need to dedicate enough resources to do fact-checking? Or is it already covered in the next slide? Yeah.
I can answer that. People have lost their faith and trust on social media and specifically online media and mainstream media. And also mainstream media has become platforms for different political ideologies, different political parties to share their agendas or to share disinformation. And we have seen this couple of, I mean, a lot of times in Sri Lankan countries given the last 4 or 5 years. So what people can do is question the accountability of the media, and people have right to do that. People can question the accountability, and there should also be self-responsibility and self-regulation among themselves to give proper, accurate, and correct news to the public, fact-checked and verified news to the public. Why we have to fact check is because of the irresponsible behavior of certain media or the certain journalists, and also because of that we don't have that culture of giving verified news to the public. So it is very important for the fact checkers and also to the journalists to be responsible and give the narratives and the opinions, or be much as possible as transparent and accountable. Other than that, we can't do anything about disinformation. If journalists are misbehaving or they are not accountable, if they are not transparent, we have to have more fact checkers, and also, and then again, we have to more people to make fact checkers and have another accountability mechanism to make accountable the fact checkers as well. So somewhere it has to be started, and it should start from journalists. So if journalists are doing their job properly, and if they are providing verified news, the accurate news, and if they are accountable and transparent, we don't need fact checkers, because fact checker itself was a kind of a journalist, which if you go back to the years back, the fact checkers also the journalist. But now we have two disciplines, two people to do that.
So you say it should be the basis of conducting journalism.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So I think you have the next slide ready on the role of media during the crisis.
Yeah. So I have gone through some of the points earlier as well. So which I said, the mainstream media or the legend media in Sri Lanka is very polarized, and most of the media are owned by people who are part of the political parties or the political context, or there are some media owned by families, which those families have a link to the political parties, and some of the members of those families are in the parliament or in the political parties. And so most of the media in Sri Lanka kind of have the similar, especially the Western or the Colombo media or the Sinhala media has kind of Sinhala Buddhist narrative or the political ideology, and most of them are supportive of Rajapaksa government. But you can't directly say that this, because sometimes they have given the space to other political parties, other political figures. So it is very complicated to understand how newspapers and the TV channels promote the ideologies which are kind of biased to the Rajapaksa government or the regime. And also, given the current context, there are a lot of occasions which misinterpret data, misinterpret laws that is supportive to the political parties or the political figures, and which are kind of demeaning or discrediting the laws that are there to support people and to protect the rights of the public. And when we look at the current context and a couple of months back, when the protests were began, most of the media was kind of neglecting the protests and not giving proper time to the protests. But when the public anger was growing and the public, when the public was mobilizing for the protest, and there was a large people gathering from not only in Colombo but in other places as well, media has to give the coverage and media has to allocate time for the protest as well. This is because of the power of people, and nowadays most of the media have online platforms, and they have present in social media, they have present in each and every platform, from Instagram to Twitter to or Facebook and other platforms as well. So when something happen, or when they provide some misinterpreting narrative or misinterpreting data or something like that, people come to social media, they comment. It is that is something that we have positive from the social media, where public can make accountable the mainstream media. So with going on, there was a lot of mainstream media has to give time slots and also to cover the protest, but there were a couple of instances where they try to discredit the protest and to discredit the people's rights and to demean them. However, after Mr. Wickremesinghe becoming the president, and most of the mainstream media yet again start their usual stuff what they have doing before the massive protest started, and still there are people questioning and people asking verified news, people asking accountability in social media. But the mainstream media still has the larger amount of going to the public, because most of the people are looking at TV channels and they are consuming news from the TV channels. And there were certain media outlets which were supportive of, or they were kind of giving the correct perspectives and the narratives, but still those also have different agendas and different biases. So we can't say that this is kind of a credible news outlet. So we can't name one thing, and we can't name one or TV channel or a newspaper or radio or a website, say this is one of the credible sites or credible thing that we can see, because each and every time there's something behind the story, maybe biased towards the government, maybe biased towards some agenda. So that's kind of the role of media during the crisis, in brief, actually.
Oftentimes, like when we talk about fact-checking process to the media, either mainstream or online media, we often face like the saying as if as we can, like, how do you weigh between accuracy and the fastness of the news cycle? You know, like what is the common ground between weighing both factors in delivering the news to meet the news cycle?
Yeah. So in practical practical scenario, there are instances that the journalists or the media outlets can't fact check each and everything because of the news cycle, because they have to meet the deadlines. But if we have a responsible media culture, if we can't fact check or we can verify it, we have to let it go. So it depends on the editorial meetings, editorial decisions that we are going to publish, if even though it is not verified, even it is not reliable. So it depends on the media culture. If we bring up or establish kind of that accountable media culture or a transparent media culture, we can move ahead. If not, we can't. That's why. So it's very hard to meet all those code of conduct or the things that we value, because of the news cycle, because everything happens so fast, and especially for the daily TV channels or the newspapers that are running daily and within based on hours or the short time period.
What kind of incentives you think that would be attractive enough to convince the media to consider the accuracy when they do the reporting? Either the incentives from the online platform itself, social media platform itself, or from the business that paying for, what do you call, like sponsoring the news outlet?
Yeah. So revenue models have become a large issue for the media outlets because most of the media depend on advertising. So, and also some of the media, they have to cater to the public, which the popularism or the popular politics. So if we can bring up accountable mechanism, and also if we promote saying that we are giving the good journalism, so you have to pay for the good journalism. And so we have seen that this was started by Guardian, Hindu, so several media outlets. I'm not saying that those are the role models to look at, but I'm saying kind of examples where if we promote a good journalism and accountable journalism, people will come and look at them. Those. So we have seen examples all around the world where so many media outlets promoting that we are bringing you the best of the best from the journalists and the journalism. So you have to pay for that content, and I know that it's not practically for every citizen to pay for or a magazine or a TV channel or a newspaper. But if you bring up that culture, and if you bring up fact-based, transparent, accurate news, and the features or whatever that we call, people will come and look at those. And if you give good content, people come and look at them. That we can see from even today. If you go to YouTube or a YouTube channel or a Facebook page or a news outlet which is giving good quality journalism, people come and look at those.
So just to preparing you to move on to the next section of today. There's like many times Thailand has been compared to Sri Lanka. Like we have to look to the Sri Lanka experience. We have so many similarity. We have faced like protected conflict, a political conflict here in Thailand, divided by ideology, now by generation. So yeah, like drawing from your experience, like what can we learn from?
At the moment, Sri Lanka has to look back to Thailand, what they have done in the economic crisis. I think we had a lot, because economists are saying that we have to learn a lot from the Thailand, which the Asian economic crisis, and how they're going to IMF and how they have done things. What Thailand can learn from Sri Lanka is that I don't know what's going through internally in the country, but we have noticed that if you people have the power, and if you educate people, and if you give as journalists, if you give quality journalism to people, and if that happens, people can do a lot of things, and also educating the public on their rights. They will exercise those, because many citizens in the I'm talking from my experience and from the Sri Lankan context. People are not aware about their basic rights, and in many occasions they were neglected, or they were removed from their rights, or they were denied from their rights. If you can make aware the public about their rights, they will understand a lot of things, and they will can do a lot of things. And when it comes to the usage or the consuming media, people are not aware about the news cycles, how news is produced, how the people, what is behind this news, so, and who is running this media outlet, what are their political connections. So if people are very much aware about the political about the media culture and the media literacy, that will also help people to question and make accountable the media. So those are the two basic things I can say to Thailand, where educate the public, make aware the public about their rights, and also improve the media culture, media consumption. Did I answer your question?
Yes. Do you have any other thing else, recommendations or something? I think you have prepared something for us, and I would like that to come across to the public.
Yes. Can I see the slide? Yeah. So what we have seen from the Sri Lankan context is people have immense power, but it's kind of a sleeping lion, which they don't exercise their rights, they don't voice, they don't exercise their right to assemble, right to express their views, or they are not kind of, they're not active citizens, they are doing their day-to-day activities. But what we have seen during the couple of months and also a couple of years back, where the farmers came to the streets, teachers came to the streets, and the students, the people who are in the health sector, people who are in the apparel sector, that is because they got aware about their rights. They understand that we were denied from our rights, that we have to win our rights, we have to come to street, we have to express our rights that which are given by the constitution and which are internationally respected and accepted. So what not only Thailand, every country can learn that people have the power, and if people express their power peacefully, and you can win more things and many things by peacefully expressing, peacefully enjoying your rights. So, and also it is very important that people are not aware about the basic laws that affect day-to-day lives, or specifically fundamental rights. So because people were neglected, people don't know what to do when something happened, even in a bus, even, I mean, in the simplest things, that people don't know what to do when something bad, something illegal, some illegal thing happened to them. And also it is very important to have accountability mechanism, which the Sri Lanka lacks in every sense, and every part, everywhere we lack accountability, where that led to corruption, that led to the uh, destruction of many things. And also if you look at the state sector in the country, there, because of the lack of accountability mechanisms, we have gone to there's a lot of corruption, and almost every state-owned enterprise is owing so much of debt, and they are making losses, they are not earning, they are not generating profits. So one example is that the central bank was printing excessive money despite the inflation, and not listening to the parliament or to the economic experts. And there wasn't any mechanism to cross-check it, or they make check and balances, or to accountable to have. So the central bank and the monetary board can decide, they can print whatever money they want. So if there was a accounting mechanism, that won't happen. So it is very important to have a mechanism from top to bottom, and from the other way around as well. And improving media literacy, as I told earlier, it is very important, because people then are very aware about what they are consuming from the mainstream media or from the online media. And so we have to add fact checking and verified news, because of the faith on mainstream media and the trust on them has declined over the years. So we have to add somewhere else in fact checking and the verified news. So, and also, even though you have accountability mechanism, that's why I was saying, even though if you have fact checkers, you have to have another fact checker to fact checkers, or to make accountable them. So there should be importance of having checks and balances and mechanisms. So those are the things that I can say in brief. I think I answered your questions, and we kind of going through our slides as well.
I think we are almost covering for one quality hour together. Just maybe a final point. Do you think fact-checking is the only one solution, or are there more things that need to be done in order to combat the information disorder, online information disorder? Yeah.
It's not only the fact checking. So Sri Lanka has implemented RTI, Right to Information Act. So where people can access to the information, they have to they have to apply for the information. But if you look at, there are certain countries, they have publicly, there are public data, public information about certain stuff. If you put more data, more accurate data, if you publicized or open those data to the public, that will help counter disinformation as well. And we need quality journalism, we need open data, and we also need fact checking. So there are a lot of things. Fact checking is not the only thing, but there are a lot of other things as well, from media literacy, guiding the people, educating the public, and educating the school children on the fact checking, and educating the school children on laws, basic laws that affects their day-to-day lives. So fact checking is not the only thing.
Just one moment. I'm trying to look on the Facebook whether there are any kind of Q&A. Just one moment. I think that might be it for us. Final thoughts, final remarks would you like to make before we end the session?
I think fact check your news, whatever that you're getting even from the best friend or wife or husband. Fact check it.
Okay. Thank you so much for your time and your
you.
contribution, Harshana. It was great learning from you. Thank you for the
It's a
support.
pleasure.
As well. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you very
Bye-bye.
much. Thank you.